and thank you for listening to the second ever episode of my podcast, Nobody's Listening, where I talk to myself because nobody else cares what I have to say. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that's actually a little controversial instead of just reading internet things, because today I had planned initially on talking about body confidence and stuff, because I've been having some issues with my confidence. It's been up and down like a freaking roller coaster recently. So I just want to talk about that and about how my mind makes sense of health and taking care of yourself, and where the lines of being healthy really are, in my personal opinion, as someone who is not a doctor yet, and not a dietitian, and has no intentions of being a dietitian, but does try to deep dive into health and facts and, actual scientific-based studies, because I don't want to. I've gone the crazy MLM unhealthy route, and I don't want to do it again. So I'm going to share the information I have gathered, as well as some of the information that I feel I wish I had known, and just some of my opinions on it. But before we get started, got a word from a sponsor today. Are you into serial killers? Because I know I love reading about serial killers, which is why today's podcast is sponsored by the book Crazy as This Crazy Does. Crazy as This Crazy Does, The Life of a Serial Killer, is a tensely clever first-person psychological thriller that deep dives into the world of an experienced serial killer. The ebook is available for purchase via Amazon and is free for Kindle Unlimited readers. Though the protagonist, John Goodman, is fictional, the circumstances of Goodman's dark life are firmly rooted in historical characters and events. Crazy as This Crazy Does begins in 1955 and follows John as he evolves from a timid and disorganized criminal into a powerful mastermind of deception and intimidation. I currently have a copy of the book that I've started reading, and I'm very excited to finish it and continue on further during my work day and my normal day job. I will be updating you guys next week as to how I felt about the book, because hopefully I'll be done by then, and hopefully we all enjoy it. I hope you check it out as well. Thank you. Alright, so my first thought when I think about health and because obviously health can't just be a weight thing. Am I overweight? Yes, I am fully aware of that. I am fully aware I'm over what I should be for my weight, and I am actively trying to lose weight, despite what random internet men who have no business commenting on my body think. Especially because I eat food sometimes, and they tend to think that means that I want to kill myself. But I guarantee that I wanted to kill myself a lot more when I didn't eat food. Obviously, there's a lot of systems that people use to talk about weight and about health, but I don't think it's really simple as some people make it out to be. Pardon me. Some people will be oh, well, you have to look at BMI, but here's the thing, so I personally don't like the BMI scale. I don't know anyone who actually likes the BMI scale. I'm sure they're out there. They're probably a psychopath. But it was made around the typical bodies of European white men. And so obviously that means that BMI does not account for boobs. And that should be enough said about that, because I have H cups and there's just no hiding it. My grandmother was commenting on how I needed to lose 30 or something, or 40 more pounds, and I was if I lost 40 pounds, then I'd weigh 125 pounds. And then I would be so top heavy, I'd just fall over all the time. But yeah, BMI does not account for boobs. It also doesn't account for muscle. So, like, if you're gonna go up and be like, excuse me, ma'am, you're fat because her boobs are huge, then you also have to go up to bodybuilders and be like, excuse me, but you are unhealthy. And there are some unhealthy bodybuilders out there, but I think that the stereotypical image of, like, a guy who lifts weights with big muscles, he's not gonna be within, like, the BMI scale of healthy. Like, he'll probably be considered, like, morbidly obese. And he's probably not. God, I wish I could eat as much as those men, but boy, that would be really fun. So, and people will be like, you just need to exercise more and eat less. And I'm like, well, I mean, technically you're right. But it's also, like, once again, it's not that simple. Because, yes, you should be moving more. An average person moving more and exercising is going to be good for them. Obviously, there are exceptions. Like, I know running 5 miles for some people is, like, an amazing feat, and if other people run 5 miles, they're going to die. Yeah, so I don't appreciate that. I do love running, and I miss being able to run, but I have bad knees. So it wouldn't necessarily be the healthiest thing for me to just, like, get up and run away. Will I still try? Probably, because I don't like myself that much, but, you know. I feel like everybody has those feelings, though, where you just don't love yourself, and you're just kind of sad. And if you don't, then I want to be you for a couple minutes, because I don't want to be sad all the time. I have a list of notes here because I needed talking points because I have the attention span of a flea. A flea probably has more of an attention span. Usually when I say that to people, they're like, are you saying fleas don't have a long attention span? And I'm like, I don't know anything about fleas. I don't have a life, but my weird hobbies do not include fleas. My weird hobbies are like listening to podcasts about serial killers and food. I don't do anything else. I literally don't even listen to music. I was live streaming one day, and people asked me to sing a song, and I was like, I don't know any songs. I'm curious, though, to think about, like, because obviously not all overweight people are unhealthy, and not everyone who's at, like, a healthy weight is a healthy person, because people, like, an example pops into my head one day, pardon me, from my day job, and I had a person come up to me and they were like, oh, I'm sorry, it's hard to find my veins sometimes, it's because I lost a lot of weight recently. And I was like, oh, congratulations. And they said it's because I have cancer. And then I was like, oh, I'm an asshole, I'm sorry. And that was kind of, I knew before that, you know, weight and health are not necessarily like a linear thing, but I guess it just always, even when people talk about it, they're like, yeah, you congratulate people for losing weight. But now I know not to do that, because sometimes you just need to get, like, hit in the head with the stick. I don't know. I don't think that's an expression. I just made that up. But, yeah, I accidentally screwed up one day at work, and it made me feel bad, and so now I'm more careful when I talk. Like, maybe someone is overweight, but it's because they were anorexic before, and now they're not anorexic anymore, and they are getting to a healthier lifestyle. And maybe I'll stop yawning this week. Find out next week. And I think that a lot of people, you know, I have hips and boobs, obviously. I am in fact, a lady. Not that all ladies have those things, just that I am a lady, which in most cases means that you have hips and or boobs. Moose is playing Fortnite again. So obviously for me, I was 120 pounds back in high school, like 2014, 2015, and I looked like I was dying. I also had no boobs. I had like no hips. I was so skinny. And looking back at those photos, part of me is like, I wish I still looked like that. But then I remember how unhealthy I was because I ran like 5Ks a week and I ran just constantly. But I also didn't eat very much. And someone's setting off fireworks. I don't know why. It's August. There's no reason. I also wonder if there's like a specific weight that makes you like automatically unhealthy. Because I feel like I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any person who's 600 or 700 pounds walking around that is genuinely healthy. But I could be wrong. I don't know how much like Andre the Giant lived when he was alive. I mean, not that he was healthy, he had like heart problems, but like, I guess that was a bad example. But I wonder if there's actually anyone who's 600 or 700 pounds that is actually a healthy person, or if that's even possible, because I don't know. And part of me wants to believe that that's not possible. Because as much as we all want to be like, there is health at every size, and you can have health at every size, you are not healthy necessarily if you're 700 pounds. And I mean, obviously height plays a role into this. I'm 5 feet tall, like barely. But Moose is like 6'4", and so I think about like, if Moose weighed as much as I weighed before I started losing weight, right after having my son, then Moose would kind of look terrifyingly skinny and like he was dying. Like, Moose will probably always be about 100 pounds heavier than me because he's more than a foot taller than me. I am a little human. I should drink more caffeine, jeez. I mean, there's probably, and another thing I feel like people don't recognize is the fact that being underweight is also unhealthy, because there's nobody out there that as a fully grown adult should be it should be like under 80 pounds, like a fully grown adult. If you're 4 feet tall, then I don't care if you're 50, you are not a fully grown adult. You are an adult, but you were not fully grown. Someone took away your growth. They gave it to one of these monster tall people. But, like, I think that, people don't think about being underweight as much as they think about being overweight. They're like, oh, you're fat. Like, on my live streams, on my live streams, people will sit there and they'll be like, oh my god, you're a fat pig, lose some weight, put the fork down. And I'm like, I don't actually eat that much. Like, do I eat a lot? Yeah, kinda. But I'm incredibly athletic. I had a baby less than a year ago, and I breastfeed him. And yeah, I breastfeed my son, and I'm active. I dance once to twice a week. I work out at least 4 times a week. I try to work out at least a little bit daily, but that doesn't always happen because I have a little baby. And from what I've heard, breastfeeding can increase the amount of calories you eat by about 500 a day. So I lost like 20 pounds eating around 2,300 calories a day. And I choose to do calorie counting. It is not necessary, but I'm doing it for the time being because I want to establish I want to get in my head, this is how much you can eat, this is how much you should be eating, this is what this amount of calories looks like. It's okay to go over, it's okay to be under within reason, but this is what this amount of calories looks like. This is what you actually need to sustain yourself. Like, this is a healthy portion size. It's just, I want to establish those thoughts in my head. And I lost like 20 pounds eating that much. I'm dropping it down to about 2,000 right now because I don't nurse as much, and also, with having lost 20 pounds, you can only eat less after you lose weight. So it's difficult to figure out exactly, obviously, but I think that it's important to have a baseline, at least for me, of what, food amount portions should look like. So it's really late, and I've had to restart this a ton of times because Moose was being super loud because he was playing Fortnite, and we had to discuss the fact that he can't play Fortnite in the same room I'm filming. So either he needs to not be playing Fortnite while I film and while I shoot this and while I record it, or he needs to help me figure out a spot to record it so that I'm not in the same room as him, because right now I record in the dining room because we don't have a lot of space. Yeah, it's frustrating. And that's another thing that I don't think people realize about your weight. You gain weight sometimes, or lose weight sometimes, from weird things like stress. For example, like, I've been stressed recently, so I'm super bloated, which is something that makes me self-conscious when I'm making TikToks and stuff. Or yesterday I went to a axe throwing bar, and I was like, I'm gonna look so fat and gross compared to the person I went with, who's very skinny. And, they don't care, but I care, because I have, like I said, my body confidence is up and down. It's like a roller coaster. And so sometimes I'm like, yeah, I love my body, I'm losing weight, I feel good about myself. And then sometimes, like, I don't even want to imagine being a person. I don't like my life, and I want to change everything about myself. And it's really frustrating because I don't want to fall back into old habits where I'm doing things that are not healthy. I want to keep myself healthy and, like, doing the right thing. Because in order to lose weight in a healthy way, you have to be able to, you have to cut back on what you were eating before, or increase your exercise, or both, But you also need to not completely neglect yourself and just not eat, which is, I think, a big gap that a lot of people miss. Like, the dangers of being underweight, where you're so skinny and people don't know really what to think or what to do. And people neglect that a lot, because sometimes you walk down the street and, like, you see someone and you're like, I want to look like that, but then that person goes home and they make themselves throw up whatever they just ate, and it's heartbreaking. It's really depressing. And I just wish that these things weren't things that existed. I wish that we all just could be like, this is how I want to look, blink, and then we could be that. You know? Like, you can only do it so many times. You can't just change it every day. You cycle through a few things, you're like, yeah, this is what looks best on me, and then you're good. But that's not how the world works. And so we're all just stuck doing whatever we can to make ourselves feel better. Like, I know I don't love myself, but I want to. I want to love myself. Maybe one day. And my cousin has the opposite issue of me, where she's like, I want to gain back some weight. I weighed more when I was a dancer. I can't eat. I don't want to eat. And I'm like, I wish that I didn't want to eat. I wish I could give you 20 pounds for you to have. But that's not how things work. Honestly, I've seriously considered recently getting like a BBL and a tummy tuck, but I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. But if I did, I would be getting a BBL and a tummy tuck. But instead, I'm just gonna keep on working on losing weight in a healthy manner. I'm working on doing, just like I said, my calorie counting. I don't want to do anything crazy. Like, I don't do fad diets. I don't want to do keto or anything. Not that, so, there's two types of keto. There's, like, dirty keto, where they eat sticks of butter. And then there's the keto people that are like, yes, I eat vegetables. I just limit my carbs to below X amount. And I personally hate the keto diet. I don't think that people should do it. I'm one to recommend against it. But I understand that I believe PCOS and epilepsy, like certain forms of epilepsy and a couple other things, it is recommended to eat lower carb or closer to like a ketogenic diet. But I'm not a doctor. And doctors actually don't get that much nutrition training anyways. I was talking to some other doctors, because I eventually will be a doctor, So I talk to doctors every once in a while because I work in a hospital. And they're like, yeah, we don't get a lot of nutrition training. You only get like 20-something hours of nutrition training, which is actually, I think, really sad. Because, you go to your doctor for advice. You're like, I just want help. I want to be healthy. I want to take care of myself. And they're like, eat 1,200 calories a day and run 10 miles a day. And that's not healthy. Meanwhile, there's other doctors, there's people like nutritionists and dietitians out there who can really help. But those resources aren't as easy to come by. Like, I personally will always go the counting calories way for losing weight. Because I know it's something that I know if I count my calories, then I can still have a cookie sometimes. But I think it also helps establish you can have a lot more broccoli and get a lot more full and a lot more energy from eating like broccoli and carrots and other vegetables, and consume less calories but feel more full and get more energy from that than you can from having a cookie. But you can make a cookie fit, and that's why I personally like calorie counting. But I understand that it can be triggering for some people, because some people see it and they're like, I want to race that number. If I can survive off 1,800 and lose weight this quickly, then I want to try 1,000 and see if I can lose weight even quicker. And now I'm only going to eat 600 calories and I'm just going to lose weight so fast and I'm going to be so perfect. Which isn't healthy, and that's also not a good idea. And I think that's kind of a line that a lot of people miss when they think about calorie counting, which is why it's not for everybody. There's nothing that's going to work for everybody. And some people who think they need to lose weight don't, and some people who don't think that they need to lose weight maybe medically should, but that's their choice. It's not mine, and it's not yours, random internet stranger, because we don't know that person's life. Maybe they're trying to, maybe they're sick, and maybe they're just happy and they know if they started trying to actively lose weight and try and do what might be healthier for them in some ways, then it would cause their mental state to decline and be really unhealthy for them in the long run. Because obviously, like I remember in high school we learned about this health pyramid, and it was physical, mental, emotional health. And if one of them was not good, then they all went down. And I was you kind of don't think much about it at that time, but now I look back and I'm yeah, that's, my mental state and my emotional health are definitely lower right now, and my physical health is suffering. I'm exhausted all the time, and so I just need something that'll help lift my physical health and my emotional health and my mental health. We're going on vacation at the end of this month. It's August. We're going on vacation at the end of August, and that'll be a really nice thing. I'm hoping it'll make me feel a lot better, and I think it'll be a really good thing for my mental, emotional health. I took a mental health day from work a couple weeks ago. I remember calling my boss and I was I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna do it. I just need you to let me have the day off. And she was yeah, you're fine. Yeah, and I'm very grateful to have a job that offers PTO and health insurance and all those benefits, obviously, because not everybody has that kind of thing in their jobs, and it's very nice for me to be able to take a day off and not worry about, the consequences it'll have on me, potentially losing hours and money and so on. Yeah. Another thing I think about a lot when I think about weight, though, I think about people on the super extremes, Tess Holliday and Eugenia Cooney, are the two opposite extremes. Eugenia Cooney, I don't know how she is recently. I've heard that she got better and then she got worse because she doesn't want help and she won't accept that she needs help. And then Tess Holliday, I believe she actively said, "Don't worry, I will never try to lose weight. I will keep being my fat self." And I'm you do you. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but, I think there's a difference between being content where you are with your weight and not actively trying to lose weight, and then actively trying not to lose weight and doing everything in your power to ensure you stay the same weight. Because there are people who, or if you lose or gain 5 pounds, you can be all upset about it. You can be not actively trying to do it, and you can even be frustrated, or you could be happy. It doesn't, whatever. Or you could be indifferent. But I think that people who are actively trying to make sure they absolutely do not lose any weight, or people who are actively trying to make sure they do not gain any weight and they freak out if they do and they have to go insane about it. You gain 2 pounds and now you're doing 100 million sit-ups a day and you're I can only eat kale and bean sprouts this week. That's a lot. And then there's the people who are on the opposite end of the spectrum who are I lost 5 pounds, oh no, now I can only eat McDonald's this week and sit on my butt. And I think that both of those are so toxic, and I don't think one of them is more toxic than the other, because I think it's all very person by person. What's more toxic? For me, it would be
I would be more worried about myself if I freaked out. Actually, I think that no matter what I did, I would ask that somebody please take me to see a doctor, like a psychiatrist, if I started freaking out in either of those directions. But like, I think that they're equally as damaging as one another. And yeah, I'm gonna cut off there because I've got so many anecdotes, but I'm tired. So I really appreciate y'all listening to Nobody's Listening, podcast where I sit around and talk to myself because nobody else cares what I have to say. And I hope to hear from you next week. I'll be posting every Thursday on YouTube, Spotify, and slowly working on getting on every other platform you can get your podcasts on. I believe I'm on Amazon Podcast now, but I don't think I'm on Apple Podcasts yet. Yeah, I'm slowly working on it. Soon you'll be able to find me everywhere. Just look for the photo of my very sexy ears because, I got sexy ears. I appreciate you all for coming. Bye.